to say that, man. That thing Bill and the Robert was out for $50 million. You have the picture, show them the picture, man. Put up the picture online, let people see it. I never used 13 years. And this new minister go tell me, he got to spend another $25 million for get seed paddy up and running.
Kaieteur Radio.
Covering Guyana from coast to coast.
Demerara and Essequibo 99.1 FM.
Berbice 99.5 FM. Kaieteur Radio.
Time check for you, 12 hours 3. My name is Amrita Koshal, and it is now time for your main newscast. In the headlines, President Ali and Vice President Jagdeo directed Starbrook Block partners to accelerate oil development according to his boss. Government gives Kashif and Shanghai license to violate COVID-19 guidelines, $13 million to upgrade 32 bush bridges to international standard, and door opens for misuse of oil money according to Article 13. And finally, teachers to isolate from classrooms today as the Guyana Teachers Union reports 176 test positive for COVID-19 and 90 students also infected. Stay tuned for details.
Nothing in life is free, but the MyDigiCell app is. You don't need to be on a data plan to use the app. You can conveniently chat with Ruby or an agent for help. Check your account balance, activate a Prime bundle, or gift it to a friend. Send credit. Check the Georgetown and Berbice Bridge schedules. Activate a roaming plan. Play Shake to Win for cool prizes. So don't worry about a data plan, buddy. Download the MyDigiCell app from the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store today. Digicel, better together.
And now for your news in detail, Hess Corporation's CEO John Hess recently noted that the government of Guyana, particularly President Irfan Ali and Vice President Barra Jagdeo, have given clear instructions for oil development at the Starbrook Block to be accelerated. Hess said both Ali and Jagdeo are very pro-business, while adding that their belief is that Guyana has a right to develop its resources. Hess also noted that Ali and Jagdeo have been very clear to the joint ventures that they want them to be capital disciplined and environmentally responsible in their offshore operations. He said so far the government has been a very good partner to the Starbrook Block partners. Given the relationship between the two, Hess said the partners are keen to work towards helping Guyana with the management of its oil wealth. Only last week, Kaieteur News quoted the Hess chief saying that his company and ExxonMobil are helping Guyana craft a plan to manage its oil riches. And we now tell you that in registering its disappointment over the rushed passage of the Natural Resource Fund Bill and now legislation, local democratic watchdogs Article 13 has warned that the undue haste opens the door for misuse of the oil funds. On Sunday, the civil society group said the act also disregards the Santiago Principles, which speaks to transparency. The body contended that in rejecting the recommendations and calls of the parliamentary opposition and civil society to be consulted on some of the biggest issues of the day, most recently the Natural Resource Fund Act, the administration is rejecting a core concept of the Constitution and of democracy. Recently, Article 13 was dismissed by the government for its comments made on general issues, but the group notified that it will not be silenced, nor will it give up its right to participate in the affairs of the country. Moving on, amid the alarming climb of COVID-19 cases across Guyana and more specifically in the education system, the Guyana Teachers Union have called on members and non-members to stand in solidarity as the body engages in a one-day isolation to protest the reopening of schools for face-to-face learning without requisite safety measures being in place. The union urged its teachers to remain at home today, thereby abstaining from even virtual learning in the face of the more than 175 teachers and 90 students who have since tested positive for the deadly virus. Minister of Labor Joseph Hamilton, upon receiving the news of what he described as strike action, warned that teachers who decide to stay away from work today will not be paid. And on that note, we now tell you that amid the steep rise in COVID-19 cases here, the main opposition has criticized the government for giving the Kashif and Shanghai organization permission to host a year-end football tournament where spectators violated the COVID-19 protocols and there were allegedly no systems to enforce the guidelines. In a statement issued by the Member of Parliament, Jermaine Figueroa, who shadows the Youth Culture and Sport portfolio, the opposition said with the extremely high rate of increase in cases of COVID-19 here in Guyana, it is most mind-boggling and unthinkable that the Ministry, the National Sports Commission, the Director of Sports, the Guyana Football Federation, the Ministry of Health, and most importantly, the National COVID-19 Task Force would give permission for the hosting of the GFF K&S year-end futsal competition. Figueroa said the super spreader event saw the attendance of hundreds, if not thousands of Guyanese in and around the venue, congregating clearly without observing the COVID-19 protocols, specifically the wearing of face masks and social distancing. He said a reliable source has confirmed that at the superspreader itself, the Prime Minister insisted that entry to the game be brought to a halt because they had exceeded the numbers which they were permitted to host the event in a safe environment. Unfortunately, the PM's position was overridden, the Region 10 MP stated. In other stories, the Georgetown MNCC is lobbying the central government and the private sector to move forward with a national solid waste management strategy. During a press conference held at City Hall recently, City Mayor Ubrach Narain maintained the need for such a plan. He recalled that a study was done in 2013 to 2014 by the Inter-American Development Bank. According to the mayor back then, the IDB had stated clearly that it is willing to help implement the plan. Aimed at enhancing Guyana's garden city image and improving its solid waste management structure, the Ministry of Local Government in 2016 outlined a comprehensive and economically viable, bio-friendly initiative that will serve as a blueprint for the implementation of best practices. Time check for you, 12 hours 11. We will return with more news for you shortly after the break.
This is GHK Lal inviting you to join me weekdays from Monday to Friday on the National Outlook for commentary on a range of issues. Immediately after the 12 noon and 7 p.m. newscasts on Kaieteur Radio at 99.1 FM and 99.5 FM. Looking forward to you sharing in the conversation.
And we now tell you that the Auditor General report of 2020 has highlighted that the Guyana Police Force is yet to recoup millions of dollars overpaid to former ranks, as well as funds remitted in their names to NIS, GRA, and other agencies. The ranks in question had resigned or were fired from the force. According to the AG report, the GPF, which has for years been plagued with issues relating to the overpayment of salaries to staff, is now looking to go after those ranks and those who were overpaid and have not returned the money. The report noted that some 176 officers who severed employment with the force for various reasons were still paid on 14 instances, totaling $1.3 million. The force committed to a policy decision in respect of members of the force whose services were terminated and were overpaid salaries that divisional branch commanders are to be surcharged for their negligence. In other stories, the government will soon be spending over $2.6 billion to upgrade a total of 31 bridges to international standards, stretching from Kurupukari to Lethem. This is according to an invitation for bids released by the ministry. According to the IFB, the project has been divided into 6 lots and will be conducted through the National Competitive Bidding Procedure specified in the Procurement Act 2003. Moving on in other stories, we now tell you that Crime Chief Wendell Blanham said that police have received legal advice to charge with murder one of the suspects accused of killing 2 men in the hinterland recently. That suspect, Thomas Kite, had on Wednesday last turned himself in at the Matthews Ridge Police Station located in Region 1 after a wanted bulletin was issued for him in connection with the murders of 2 minors, Sherwin Goddett and Sean France, last Christmas Eve. Goddett and France were brutally stabbed to death while heading to their camp just moments after leaving a bar at the Nassano Bagdam landing. Police had put out a wanted bulletin for 2 men, but only Kite had turned himself in. The other suspect, identified as Kirtland Damon, also known as Carto, is still at large. And now time for your COVID-19 update. The Ministry of Health on Sunday reported that 3 more persons who tested positive for COVID-19 have died on a day when it also recorded 657 new COVID-19 cases. As a result of this, the country's COVID-19 death toll has moved to 1,070. Guyana's latest fatalities are that of 2 women, an unvaccinated 63-year-old from Region 4 and a fully vaccinated 84-year-old man from Region 6, and that of an unvaccinated 74-year-old man from Region 6. Since January 1st to 9th, the country has recorded a total of 5,329 new cases. Minister of Health Dr. Frank Anthony had attributed the increase in cases to the Omicron variant, which he believes is in circulation in Guyana. We now turn your attention to page 7 of the Kaieteur News, dedicated to being blunt. According to one of our letter writers, Guyana is faced with a reversed Robin Hood situation. Our leaders are taking from the poor and fattening the coffers of the rich. How does one become a leader of an entire nation and not have compassion for the people? Guyanese, we implore you, open your eyes and see how the leaders are throwing us under the bus. It is very clear that they care about themselves and not about us. This nonsensical approach to running this country must be halted forthwith. Guyanese, it is our collective efforts that will have to salvage this nation from certain devastation. My name is Amrita Koshal, and this was your main newscast right